So one of the practices that Chuck has decided to do back in 2012 was a pollinator habitat. And here we have a 1 acre area of a pollinator habitat that he seeded down back in 12 into some clovers, some trefoil, some cool season legumes, some cool season grasses, and also some native forbs like this bergamot here, and we have some New England aster as well in right up here in front. So what we try to do with the pollinator habitat is have at least species pollinating or species flowering. Both are in the spring or in the early season, mid-season, and late season of the growing period. So we try to have plants blooming during early June, July, and into August, September. And you have the bergamot going right now. They're usually a late, early season into mid-season. Then you have the New England aster that's going to be flowering up here in September. And you're going to also get some of this goldenrod that's coming out here in August and such. So what you're seeing is some red top. We have some timothy here that he has planted, and even the grasses will provide pollen for pollinators. And we're not just looking at monarchs, we're looking at all pollinators. So we're looking at native, we're looking at bumblebees. We just got some bumblebees here on the bergamot and also the goldenrod. And there's some pollinators that you're not going to recognize, but they're all good, and they use the stems to overwinter in. And so what we try to do is provide a food source, a rest source, and a nesting source for your pollinators.
I'd like to give you a little history about this opening in here. It was made back in about 1995 with the first harvest that I had. As part of my management plan, I wanted some permanent openings. So the logging contractor who chipped whole trees back time cleared this area. This is all woods. This whole field was woods. He cleared this area, set his chipper up in here, and then they forwarded all the trees that were cut down here and they chipped them into a van. And as part of my agreement with the forester, they expanded the opening a little bit. He didn't quite need it this big for his operation. But it's about an acre here, just a little under an acre. Before they left, in the spring, he came in here and with a dozer and a backhoe cleared all the stumps and the rocks out of here, pushed them in 2 piles on the west side over here. And this was used as a food plot until I applied to go into the CSP program, and this is one of my new practices in making this a pollinator plot out there. But that's one thing you can do in your forest too. If you work with your logger, have them just leave a couple open areas for you in there, and have them clear the rocks and the stumps out of there, and you got a nice little wildlife opening in there.
One of the advantages of having opening spaces like this in a forested community is you can see where we have an edge effect. We have the opening of the pollinator area. You have a transition going into the woodlot. That is a beneficial habitat for wildlife, and it gives them cover. It gives them that transition zone between the big forest into your open spaces areas. So Chuck has been one of our participants in the Conservation Stewardship Program. And the Conservation Stewardship Program is a voluntary program that's for 5 years, and it rewards producers and participants for having a forest management plan, maintaining the road systems on their property without signs of erosion, and also following the best management practices, forestry best management practices. Now, one of the things with the Conservation Stewardship Program, or what we call CSP, has been that you get rewarded for the things that you're doing, but you're also going to get rewarded for things that you're going to do above and beyond the average conservation practice.